Hey, what's going on, everybody out there, wherever you may be watching from? Um, it is Saturday, November 2nd, and here I am again. I have been really feeling led to do more vlog style videos. I wanted to talk about um, just what I do, I guess. And really, this whole idea or thought about the question that people tend to ask you when they're first meeting you is, what do you do for a living? So I wanted to unpack that whole question, that whole thought. So a little bit about my current job right now. So I work for a company in Milwaukee called Zizzle. And Zizzle has been in business coming up on 4 years. And I found out about the company through a really good family friend of mine. So Zizzle is a benefits and payroll company. So that's how she had presented it to me. And she said they help companies manage their payroll and their benefits and administration around them. And they do it through this awesome technology company that communicates to employees. And she's just telling me about this. But what really made her light up was when she started talking about the person who started the company and telling me a little bit about his history. And I was immediately hooked into how she was talking about him. And I thought, at the very least, first of all, I'm always something I'm always been interested in is how companies go about and operate as a well-oiled machine with their different functions. In my previous role, that's when that interest really first kind of started to light up in me. And when I heard about this benefits and payroll company, I was like, this could be a really good opportunity to learn more about that. Not to mention, she was talking about this guy who started the company, and I was like, yeah, that would be awesome to work for and learn from a guy like that. Incredible. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I do for the company and just why I'm passionate about it. So day to day, I think what I work. We have a database that has just a lot of Wisconsin companies all within that database, and I take a look at that, and I literally make cold calls, right? So just telling it how it is, I cold call just companies like Monday through Friday every week. And what I try to do is I try to find somebody at the company who works in HR. So whether it is an HR director, a manager, a generalist, sometimes like a benefits manager or payroll administrator, somebody with those types of titles. And I try to connect with those people, have conversations with them, and learn a little bit more about just how the business functions from their perspective with their teams. So that's what I do, and then I learn about that, and then after I do that, I then explain what Zizzle does, and really just try to find and see if there's a match in us being able to meet a need somewhere. So I'll do that. I'll also, whether it's HR, sometimes I'll go and look for people who work in accounting and talk a little bit more about the financial aspect of what we do. And I wouldn't put it past me to call somebody, even like a chief financial officer of a company, and try to have a conversation with them. So a little bit about the day-to-day, but no, it's so cool because as you try to make connections with people, you learn so many different things. Like, you learn patience because everybody's busy. So a lot of times it's just the reality of cold calling. People don't really want to talk to you. So you learn how to not take things personally. You learn how to take rejection. So sometimes you will tell somebody what you do and they just won't want to hear it. So you have to learn how to just move forward with, even though somebody just completely found no value in you and what you're telling them. You learn, and then you learn about just what different companies are facing. You learn about their future plan. I mean, just so many cool things, that I've learned throughout doing this. Another aspect of what I do as well is I try to get involved in different communities throughout Wisconsin, and insert myself into them and build relationships within those communities. To I mean, simply put, it's networking. So that is definitely an art. Like, I will tell you that, for anybody who is out here hustling, out here grinding, is what you hear a lot. Networking is not just a hustle and a grind. And you're gonna, this is just from experience, you will find a little bit of disappointment if that's all you're trying to do with networking. It's an art. So, with all that being said, I do that. So I look to get involved with the groups like the Milwaukee Metro Area Chamber, Milwaukee Metro SHRM, and then SHRM is their Society of Human Resources, and they actually have a number of different chapters throughout the state of Wisconsin that all get together and meet, and they form different HR professionals form relationships with each other within those chapters, so that they literally build a support system a professional support system for each other. So there's that, and then there is just the whole idea of learning how to get a business off the ground and running, and how much work, energy, and everything that goes into that. It has been amazing. So that's a little bit about what I do for my job. Some of the things that I absolutely love about my job is I love being able to work from anywhere. So I could literally work from home. I could work from a coffee shop. I could work in the office space that Zizzle currently occupies. That's amazing. Like, it gives you so much flexibility and freedom as to how you prioritize and structure your time, which is also a whole new learning that takes learning as well. So love that, and I love working downtown Milwaukee here in the 3rd Ward. In this co-working space, we work in a beautiful building called the Pritzloff Building, and the co-working space we work out of is called Ward 4. I love it. It's awesome. So the question is, what do you do for a living? So I just talked about what I do for Zizzle, which is my job. And you could say that that is what I do for a living. But how you answer that question really is determined by what you define as living. Yep, I gotta say it again. So how you answer the question of what you do for a living is determined by how you define living. Okay? Just talking about money, not talking about all of life, but the financial money aspect of living is determined on how you use the money that you make. So, and how you use that, I think, is directly correlated to how you define living. Not all encompassing, but just very, very important. So I know my mom, something that really motivated her to work was that she knew that if she worked, she could travel. So my mom did tons of traveling throughout her life. She pretty much traveled the whole world, and she made a living, made the money so that she could live a life of traveling. That's how she made a living. So how do you make a living? By whatever. So what am I getting at here? How much you make doesn't necessarily determine the life that you live. For me, when I talk about how I make a living, I don't necessarily start with making. I start with living. So I make a living based off of how I live. I don't know if that makes any sense, but so for me, like in my mind, um, a little bit of background about me. I went to Coe College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I was a biology major and also minored in secondary education. Um, my senior year, I was all set up to student teach. I was on pace to finish my biology degree. All I needed to do was finish student teaching, and I would have completed my minor in secondary education. Then I would have been fully certified to be a high school teacher. And I decided the first semester going into my senior year that I didn't want to go down an education path for my career journey. I wanted to go down a music path, an artist path, and I wanted to be a rapper. And I love saying that to people because everybody laughs when they hear me say that. But that was what I wanted to do for a living, because what I feel like within that lifestyle and like just how I live through my music, I feel that the process of making music makes me feel alive, and the process of performing and sharing my music also makes me feel alive, because I'm taking, at the time I would say it was energy, or I'm receiving energy and then giving energy. Now, at this point in my life, I more so would say it as literally receiving the Holy Spirit and then giving out the Holy Spirit, or being like a conduit of God's love, or being a vessel for God, and doing that by being the most true, genuine, and authentic version of myself, which is what we're called to be through freedom in Jesus Christ. So that's just where I'm a little bit about where I'm at right now. But anyways, getting a little bit off topic there. Well, not really even. I guess I'll even wrap things up saying like this, because this is really what I wanted to do, talking about this whole idea of making a living. It's really just to unpack this idea and break out of the idea of what we think life should look like in terms of making a living, and actually live. And as I've experienced throughout my life, I believe that life is had in Jesus Christ. And that is why, I do what I do and how I do it. It doesn't always make sense to people. It's not always the easiest path, because for me to really like stay focused on that and to stay keened in on that, there's a lot of things that can distract you from that. It makes sense in our minds, like who God is, who Jesus is, what he did, and who we are because of that. But there's always that difficulty of knowing in your mind and actually doing, due to the number of different distractions that are around us. And I'm just talking about if the whole God and Jesus thing is you're just not even listening anymore. It's really just talking about like doing what you love, and being who you, and trying to find why you are on this earth, and what you're meant to do here. Which I hope, if you get into that like whole thought, your curiosity is sparked enough to at least look at the Bible and the gospel and who Jesus Christ is. Because I know that a lot of that stuff, those questions, will become more and more clear as you pursue and discover that. So, just to conclude, last night I felt like I got into the presence of God. And that's, when I say that, that's alone time, or reflection, thoughts to yourself. I'm calling it presence of God, because that's what it is. But I felt like God had told me, Nate, do you realize how awesome of a position I have you in your life right now? and he started to just like show me like how awesome it is working for Zizzle, and that's why I was talking about Zizzle a little bit, because it's so cool, really, when you think about. I mean, for me at least, it's so cool to think about what we do, and then this whole idea about making a living. So that's why I talked about that. And really, the ultimate goal is just to point you towards Christ, or at least show what Christ has done in my life, and encourage you to look to Him, because He has awesome things in store for your life. I want to share my thoughts more. I hope you find inspiration in them. I hope they help. Maybe connect some thoughts that you have, or challenge some of the thoughts that you have, maybe. Or maybe you just don't agree with me at all and you think I'm crazy. And that's fine too. If you have the courage enough to approach me with a conversation, let's talk. But that I really want to do more of this, and I'm going to. So that's just a heads up. And anyway, I'm going to get going. I'm going to stop talking. God bless whoever has stuck with me for the 20 minutes of this vlog. And I just hope that you have a great rest of your Saturday, and I look forward to running into you in the world, or sharing more thoughts in the future. So, peace.